Hey everybody out there in the internet world, this is Roar of War. It is a 2 to 4 player game that each person will take on a fantasy race, of which you have elves, dwarves, humans, and orcs, and each person is going to kind of set up a battle line of cards, and they're going to be face down, and what you're going to be doing is you're going to be revealing those cards and attacking the other players at the table. There's a lot of things about this game that are really fun. The artwork obviously stands out if you know about the game. If not, I'm going to show you some of that artwork. That's pretty amazing. But the really cool thing is that the teams, the enemies and everything that you're going to be fighting, you're very asymmetrical. This isn't a situation where, the dwarves are going to fight like the orcs, or the humans like the elves, and so on and so forth. And so you're going to have to use your strengths and your weaknesses and kind of counter bluff and counter bluff the other players, because of the fact that you do get to kind of hide what you have in front of you, and there's going to be a lot of exploratory combat and a lot of guesswork being done by you and your opponents, and a lot of bluffing and counter bluffing as well, which makes the game a lot of fun. So luckily, and there's a little bit of chance thrown in as well with these cool dice, these cool 4-sided dice that I have here. But more about the dice and more about the game in just a few moments when I teach you how to play. Alright, cool. I've gone ahead and set up a 2-player game of Roar of War between the humans and the dwarves. To begin the game, what you're going to do is you dig through your deck of your different creatures or people or what have you. And so when you go through these, I wanted to show you one card real quick here. Each card will have, if it's a person that's going to fight for you, they'll have 3 stats. And that is their attack value, and then it is their defense value, and then it is their counterattack value. So when you attack with somebody, what you'll do is you'll compare your attack value to the other person's defensive value. If it meets it or exceeds it, it'll destroy that card. If it doesn't beat it, then the other person will be able to attack back with you using their counterattack value. Now you might see that little thing there. That means roll one of these cool 3-sided dice that have a 1, 2, and 3 and an X on there. So you could have 0. So if you rolled that, you'd get a 1, so that probably wouldn't be a really good attack, but that's what that value is there. And what you do to begin with is you get 24 cards with different units on them. One of them is your king, and you place four cards in the back row. This is considered your last row, as the game is called. And your last row can't be attacked until all 24 cards are out. And I'll explain how the other cards get out in just a second here. So you have to put in the last row. I think I put the king there. Yeah, okay. So there's the human king. And so, but he's back there and you don't know. And then you have 3 other cards in those locations as well. And then you take 4 more cards and you put them in front like so. And then the other player does the exact same thing. So you know that the king or the leader, or in the case of the elves, it is a queen. There is Queen Eleanor. Okay, so I should mention also that each side has animals as well. Like the elves have deer, the wolves have the orcs have dire wolves, the elves have goats, and the humans have horses. I'll explain what those do in just a little bit. But anyway, so after you set that up, you get 2 cards off the top of your strategy deck to start with. And strategy cards are just ways to break the rules in some way. So we'll just kind of look at one here. Exhaust. You can play this card when you're defending. Subtract 2 points from the attack power and the defense power of the rival's card for that attack. So you just have a little special ability you can act. And then the way the game is played is that you pick one of your cards, and you can't attack with your last row either. They're kind of sitting there in the reserve. I mean, you can once you get all your cards out and everything's going on. But what you're going to do is you're going to pick one of your cards that you have, and you're going to flip it over, and you say, okay, I'm going to attack with this card. And this probably wouldn't be a great attack because it has an attack of 2, but you would do these things as as an exploratory attack, something like that. And then you pick one of the other person's cards. So we'll just flip one over here, and so then we look, and we see it has a defense of 3. And so we wouldn't beat. So Yoivat here has a counterattack of 2 dice. So we already know that nothing's going to happen because he has a defense of 8. But we're going to go ahead and check and see how much damage, because we did 2 damage, technically, to him. So we're going to roll for Yavat, and Yavat is going to get an X and a 3, meaning that he did 3 total damage to Granith. Now, why that matters, if it is a stalemate like that, you get to hand the player one of your damage tokens. You hand them a damage token, they put them in front of them. Now, when you're playing a 4-player game, you can collect damage tokens from other players as well. As soon as you have 3 damage tokens in front of you, then the other players, the player that caused you to take that last damage token, gets to pick a card that you have and make you discard it and throw it away. So if they pick that one, you'd have to get rid of it and it would be out of your row. Now, you do flip these back over because this game does have a memory thing to it. You have to kind of remember what was the last card you attacked, what was the defense of it, and then plan your cards, which is going to work best in that situation. Now, obviously, if you win, either by counterattacking or through defending, counterattacking or attacking, you just remove that card. Now, after one person goes and the next person goes, that's a round. And what you're going to do then is you're going to go back to your deck of cards. You're going to look through which ones you want, and then you pick 4 more cards, and you get to place them on top of other cards. So, like, you could look and you could say, well, they know that guy's the defense of 8, so maybe he's got a big attack guy with 8 or something like that. So, maybe we'll take one of our horses and we'll put that on top of there. Now, this is where that kind of that bluff and counter bluff happens, and so you can put those over. You can also put ones over on the back row as well. Now, maybe you don't want to put one right over the king right away. Maybe they'll think, oh, he's putting more defense on his king. But you put 4 more cards out, and then you continue on doing the same thing. You switch the first player token, and then you go through the process again of making these attacks. As soon as you get all of these cards out, and all of them are stacked up on your rows, on both, everybody will do that, because everybody does that, adding the cards. Then you kind of go into that end game thing where now it's a kind of like that bluff and counter bluff of maybe ganging up on one person to try to knock them out and so forth. And what it comes down to is whoever is the last person standing that still has their king, and alive, and they've knocked out the other kings of the other players, they then will win a game of Roar of War. Now, the game is, like I said, it's not like the most difficult game in the world to learn how to play, or even to follow as far as the strategies go, but it is very, very fun because of the high interaction between the other players. A lot of table talk in this game. We actually, when we played a game, we had to basically put a kibosh to other people having better memories and things like that. It's like, no, and attack the other card over there. We had to make sure that nobody did that. But also the artwork on these cards is really great. Like, here's some of the dwarf cards. Orc cards, I'm sorry. And you do get multiples. I should have mentioned that. So you can, put, you get multiple cards of different abilities. And so that can also foul and mess up the other players as well, as they're trying to remember, which cards are where and what cards they do. I really like that guy. It's a good picture. Of a big old evil orc. Look at that counterattack. 5 plus a die roll. That's really good. And his attack of 9 is huge. So I invite you to go check out the Kickstarter page. They have more examples of the art over there. The game, if you're looking for this cool little combat challenge game that you can kind of dive in and teach somebody in 5 minutes, this really fits the bill. But I'll talk more about that in my final thoughts, which I'll do right now. Oh yes, all right, there you go. The Roar of War. All right, so like I said, this is a weird game. It wasn't what I was expecting at first. When I read the description of the game, I thought it was going to be a fairly straightforward battle line type game. I played a lot of games like this, but because of the fact that you kind of have that fog of war thing going on with all the cards kind of face down, and then you reveal and then you put them face down again, and the fact that people can't hammer on it right away because everybody does an attack, and then you get to put those cards back down, and so you kind of have a little bit of a breather there. Now, it does get a little funky after the first turn of the game. Like the first turn, you'll put the cards down. One person attacks, the other person attacks. Or if you're playing a 4-person game, each person goes through one process of the attack. But then, after you switch the first player token, you actually do go to kind of an odd man out turns. So it's but it catches up. So basically in a 2-player game, I'll explain this. So first turn you go, like the first player goes, and then the second player goes, right? And then so the next turn you switch it over. So then what the person who is second then goes, then the first player goes, and then the second person goes. So they kind of get 2 turns in a row to kind of get that little edge. But then it switches again, and then it's it goes back. So it's kind of round robin, if you will. And I kind of like that as well because it does switch up the speed, and you kind of then do plan out your turns, and you plan out your defense as well when you're placing your extra cards out in front of you. I do like how brutal the game does get, as I said, especially with the 4-player game. There's a lot of cajoling, and there's a lot of, a little bit of table talk, and like I said, we had to put kind of an end to a little bit of that so people didn't feel picked on or what have you. But like I said, it's a memory game, and you have to kind of intuitively remember where different cards were. And I think that was one of the reasons why when I played this with my daughter, one of the first games you ever are playing with your kids are memory type things where they flip over and it's a dinosaur, yay, you get both the cards, that sort of thing. And it teaches them spatial recognition and stuff like that. And both my daughter really loves those types of games, and my son, who's 4, really enjoys those as well. But so this was a nice graduation from that type of game to a more structured battle game. Now, admittedly, my daughter is almost 9, and she's a huge Pokemon player. I still have yet to beat her at Pokemon. So, but she thought this game was a lot of fun because she did like the fact that she could hide things be behind other cards. And I was watching her as the first time we played. It was really obvious she was putting cards on top of her king, so I knew exactly who to go and attack. And, or I guess she was the elf, so she had a queen. But it was fun after I beat her then. She kind of realized that she had given herself away. And then she started monkeying with things. It kind of reminded me of the first time I learned in Stratego, you can't just put your number 1 guy right in front of the flag. People are going to know your flag is right there. And it's fun to watch those gears clink. So I appreciated that about this game, is that I got to see my daughter kind of start being tricky, with her plans. And, like I said, it's a lot of fun. I think the game is really, really good as a 2-player game, but it really, really shines when you get to that 3rd and 4-player type thing. And you can play a 4-player team battle, which actually works pretty well. 2 teams of 2 against each other. So there you go. If you're looking for a game that you can play in about half hour to 45 minutes, that's highly competitive and it's going to kind of tax your brain if you teach yourself a little bit of memory from turn to turn, then I highly suggest you check out The Roar of War. All right, cool. Well, if you have any questions about the game, ask away. I'll try to answer those to the best of my ability. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to watch this video. And until next time, I am the Undead Viking, and I'm telling you to have yourself one heck of an awesome day. All right, bye-bye.